deliver lost time. Don't open the box. People think time only moves forward. They're wrong. Sometimes it gets misplaced. And when it does, I'm the one who brings it back. I work for a company you've never heard of. We don't have a name, just a symbol. A circle, broken on the top, like an open clock. We don't advertise. We don't need to. People don't call us. Time calls us. Most of my deliveries are simple. A black cube, usually warm to the touch, about the size of a shoebox. The instructions are always the same. 1. Do not open the box. 2. Deliver to the recipient listed. 3. Do not look them in the eye. 4. Return before the hour rests. I used to ask questions. Now I don't. After what happened in Montana, the delivery was marked high sensitivity, rural house, coordinates only, no name, a single box, humming faintly with a faint gold mist seeping from the edges. I've never seen one leak before. My watch began ticking backwards the second I picked it up. When I arrived, the place looked abandoned, boarded windows, mail piling up, but there was a light on in the attic. I rang the bell. No answer. Then the door creaked open. No one was on the other side. I stepped in and called out. That's when I heard crying. It came from the attic. I climbed the narrow stairs, holding on the box in both hands. It was heavier now. Ticking in my watch grew louder with every step. By the time I reached the door, it sounded like a metronome slamming in my skull. The crying stopped. Then a voice, my voice, whispered from behind the door. You're too late. I should have turned and run, but the box pulsed in my arms like a heartbeat. The lock on the door clicked open. Inside, a woman sat on the floor, rocking back and forth. She looked maybe 50, but her eyes were ancient, starved of time. If that makes sense. All around her, clocks hung on the wall. Hundreds of them. None of them ticked. I held out the box. Delivery. She didn't move. I sat it down and turned to leave. That's when she spoke. Did he beg you too? I froze. Who? She pointed to the wall at a photo of a boy, maybe 6 years old, blonde, smiling. My son, she said. I gave him 5 extra minutes. I don't understand. What do you mean? She stood slowly, bones creaking. He drowned in 2002. I screamed for help, but nobody came. And then one day, the box showed up. A man in a coat, just like yours. He said I could have 5 minutes back. Just 5. And you opened it? She nodded. And? She smiled sadly. He drowned again. And again. Every night. Same 5 minutes. Sometimes he calls for me. Sometimes he laughs. Sometimes he just floats. She looked me in the eye. You brought him back wrong. I turned to leave. The box was open. Inside, a dripping waterlogged watch, still ticking, and a small pale handprint burned into the lining. My own hands were soaked. I ran to my car and drove until sunrise. When I got back to the headquarters, they wiped my memory. At least they tried. But you can't erase time that's already been delivered. Since then, I've seen things no one should. A woman who ordered 12 seconds of her dead husband's breath. A boy who wanted to hear his dog bark again. A man who paid to relive the moments before he pulled the trigger every night for years. All of them opened the box, eventually. They always do. But last night I delivered one to my old address, my childhood home. There was no name, just a sticky note on the top. Do not open until your mother dies. She died 10 years ago. I called HQ. No answer. I sent the return code. It bounced. The box began to hum. I tried to throw it out, bury it, burn it. It always comes back. Sitting at the foot of my bed, waiting. Sometimes I hear voices from inside. My mother's mostly. Sometimes mine, laughing, screaming, begging. I haven't opened it, but I will. I have to. Because last night I heard a new voice. One I haven't heard in decades. My brother's. He died when we were kids. Fell through the ice. I watched it happen. I never forgave myself. He said, "It wasn't your fault. You didn't let go." I did. He died before I knew that. Before I ever told anyone what really happened. So now I'm sitting in the dark, the box on my lap, ticking. I know what they told me. I know the rules. But what if it's not a punishment? What if it's a second chance? What if 5 minutes is enough? I think the world ended. Can someone please confirm? I hope someone is reading this. It is my strong suspicion that humanity ended about a week ago. If that's the case, I'm posting this in hopes that I am not the last survivor. Please send help. I have no idea how much longer I'll hold out. I should mention that I was born without my eyesight. It's been a challenge for me. The world we've built is one dominated by the ability to see. Education, roads, even most forms of entertainment are predominantly experienced through the eyes. People have often asked me, what is it like to be blind? But it's difficult for me to describe. It's just how I am. I like to think it has allowed me to experience the world in a way that few others do. I can appreciate my other senses to a degree that makes life just as beautiful for me as it does for anyone else. Or as terrifying. Believe it or not, I work as an author. My setup allows me to use speech to text, and even reads my work back to me, so I can correct it. I truly enjoy writing. It lets me paint pictures that I can experience the beauty of. That being said, it is a very lonely life. I don't really have too many friends. Save the cleaning lady, who gives my apartment a once-over every month. It is to my shame that I admit. I've gone months without leaving my apartment before. I don't really see any need for me to. I get all the fresh air I need when I drink my coffee on the balcony. And it's not the natural beauty that does anything for me. But I do love the sounds. Birds singing, the wind blowing through leaves, even the sound of traffic. It makes me appreciate that life is happening all around me. I often felt like the hunchback of Notre Dame, stuck in my tower, while the world goes on below me. I only choose my prison. As a result, I've given myself an unofficial mandate that I must go out at least once a day for a short walk. I think it keeps me not just sane, but also helps me be happier. Another way I avoid depression is a routine, even if it's a loose one. I find it helps keep my life structured. I wake up at 7 a.m., eat breakfast on my balcony. It's one of my favorite parts of the day. I soak in the world around me, the wind brushing over my skin, the birds chirping back and forth to each other in their busy escapades, the smell of the bakery from the street below. It's when I feel most alive. After that, I shower, get dressed, and begin to work at 8:30. I spent the rest of my morning wrestling with writer's block, of brainstorming for my next chapters, and then I take a break around noon to have a small lunch, and go on the walk I mentioned earlier. Then I go back to writing. At 1:30, I usually continue on until around 5, which is when I would make myself dinner. After dinner, I unwind, listen to audiobooks or podcasts. That, or sometimes I put a movie on. As you may have gathered, I experience this world differently than most. For example, I can't just look at the sky and see a storm. I feel when the clouds are ready to pour down rain on the earth. I smell the weight of it in the air, and I can hear the subtle change in the wind's voice, the way it hushes like the sky is holding its breath. I've always lived this way, and I wouldn't change it, but recently, something's been off. I noticed it 13 days ago when I was eating my breakfast. It was a sunny day. The wind blew gently through my hair. The smell of it was odd. It had a hint of almost medical smell, like formaldehyde. I don't have time to dwell on it before the melody of chirps sprung out closer to me than usual. A robin was singing its flute-like song for me. I smiled. It was a truly special way to start my day. My walk that day was also a bit odd, in the sense that cars seemed to be more aggressive than usual. The sounds of engines revving and horns beeping seemed more common. I could hear people talk too. Someone walked by me, asking their partner about dinner. On the phone, another pair standing not too far away, talking about the weather. Yet another was discussing some meeting they had at work. All perfectly mundane and normal things. What bothered me at that point, it was the smell. It was not the usual smell of the lake and the trees. Everything was tainted with a chemical smell, and something else. Something masked by it. Like you microwaved a raw chicken until it was hot enough to produce an aroma. I showered after I got home, trying to scrub the stench off me, but I don't let it bother me. The rest of my day went on as it normally does, as did my morning the next day. I woke up and prepared my breakfast, dusting off the chair on the balcony. The wind was just rougher today, yet dry. It was not unpleasant enough for me to go inside. I could smell the bakery that morning, but I was unable to enjoy the sounds they usually do. Cars rushing by, people chattering below, and the robin never sang his song for me again. I worked, I ate, I went for a walk, but I almost considered cutting it short. The smell was getting worse. Its mask was slipping off, and I could make out the faint scent of burnt hair too. Up until recent, I was not particularly bothered. The following is what sent me into a deep slide, into paranoia. The conversations I heard. Someone asked their partner about dinner. Someone was discussing the weather. Someone was complaining about a meeting. The same voices, the same tones, the same cadences. I stopped to listen, but the conversations all sounded normal to me. A car jolted me back to my senses. 3 quick beeps from the road ahead. I smirked to myself. Everyone's always in such a hurry. I talked myself down on the way home. They were all normal conversations, very common, not unreasonable, that people discussed them. After all, I didn't memorize anyone's voices. Who's to say it was the same people? And yet the next day, the robin with the same tune, dinner, weather, work, 3 beeps. The next day, the day after, and the day after. I even changed my routine. I ate dinner inside, but I could still hear the birds clear as day from my window. I walked another path, and yet I heard the same voices, the same mundane conversations. 5 days ago, I tried something. I left the house at 4 a.m. Before dawn, no breakfast, no routine, just coat, my cane, and silence. I walked the streets I haven't stepped on in years. Quiet side roads, fenced-off alleys, industrial zones, and I still heard it. The robin singing, not distant, close. "What's for dinner?" a woman asked, passing right behind me, calm, casual. "This fog is terrible," a man replied on my right. "Supposed to be cleared by noon." Yet another, "My boss is writing me about that meeting again." The voices never overlapped. Each one waited their turn, like actors in a scene. Pauses in between them, identical every time. Then 3 honks, just ahead of me. I ran home, locked my doors and windows, but didn't change anything. I could still hear the robin every day, like clockwork. I can still hear the 3 honks from the street below, when their time comes. I haven't left my apartment yet, but yesterday I was fumbling around the living room, knocked something over on my shelf. My old radio. It hadn't worked in years. It felt cracked and let out a brief burst of static. Then the robin stopped singing. The traffic fell silent. The busy chatters from the pedestrians vanished, without a trace. And in their place, new noises. Wind, not gentle, but howling, pushing and scraping against the building like claws. Distant crackling, like fire through dry wood, or the brittle remains of something once alive, and breathed it all. A deep rumble, not mechanical, geological. The city groaned. Not with life, but with pressure, as if bones were shifting under the weight of its own collapse. All I heard was metal fall, far off. A sign or a street light, maybe. It struck the ground, and it didn't stop ringing. There are no footsteps, no laughter, no voices, only the wind, and the ruins left for it to gnaw on. It only lasted seconds, but it was enough for me to take it all in. The picture these sounds painted sickened me to my core. Then, like a machine sputtering back to life, the robin returned. The cars and the conversations drowning out. The sounds of emptiness in a deafening juxtaposition. As if all life, just like before, perfect, polished, rehearsed. But what they couldn't keep me from is the smell. Warm and rancid, flesh and sour. Acidic chemicals hidden behind the smell of pastries and fresh bread. Now I sit here on the balcony, coffee in hand, pretending the world is still alive. The robin sings on cue. The conversations start in order. The smell drift up from the bakery I'm sure no longer stands. But I know now. Whatever's out there wants me to believe, to follow my routine, and most days I do, because I'm afraid of what happens if I don't. My mother used to tell me that my father was an angel. I thought she was crazy, until I saw him myself. I don't remember my mother ever being sane. From the very moment I was born, The house I lived in was filled with her madness. The tattered curtains that were never washed, the constant running TV with all sorts of religious broadcasts, the silence that followed her nightly sobbings. But most of all, I was terrified of the icon of the Virgin Mary, cracked in its places, and I swear, I felt her watching me. My mother always smelled of alcohol from early morning till late at night. I never saw my father. Whenever I asked about him, she answered with an absolute certainty that my father was an angel. Not in the sense of being a good man, but literally a real angel. She said it with a wide open, yet utterly empty and lifeless eyes. A cigarette dangled from her cracked lips as she repeated, "Your father's an angel, Michael. A real angel." I believed her, maybe when I was like 5. I was happy and rushed to tell my friends who my father was. The reaction was predictable. They mocked me and teased me for years. No matter how many times my mother repeated her story about my father, no matter how many religious channels she made me watch, I stopped believing her. In my teenage years, it got worse. I was hot-tempered, stubborn, and had a terrible relationship with my mother. I openly called her crazy and begged her to tell me the truth about my father. But instead, in one of her drunken episodes, she screamed that my father was an angel, holding a cracked rosary in her hands, as if she could summon him from the heavens. He burned with light when he came to me, and you, she grabbed my face roughly, scratching my cheeks and chin with her nails, you carry his sacred blood. Eventually I stopped listening to her altogether, let alone speaking to her. At 18, I moved to another city and fulfilled my dream. To escape the rotting house with its perpetually yellow lighting and peeling walls. And my deranged mother, because of her, people called me crazy, mocked me about my father, and openly insulted her, which often got me into fights. My only fond memories of her is the day we went to the beach. She held my hand, and we simply watched the sea. Everything was fine until she looked up at the sky and said, "When will you come, my love?" After moving out, I worked hard, made a few friends, real good friends. Whenever they asked me about my family, I said I was an orphan. I even started drinking a little, just to understand her, but not become her. I should note that I'm a firm atheist, unlike my mother's fantastical religiosity. But I'm not writing this to tell you how I ran away from home and my insane mother. I'm writing this to tell you how I came back. After I moved, I felt something watching me. I chalked it up to the stress. Even went to a psychologist, but that strange feeling never left, like something was protecting me. Once a car nearly hit me, but I managed to jump away in time. Another time I stopped walking without knowing why, and a second later, a massive branch fell from a tree that could have easily crushed my skull. One night, she left me 11 voice messages. Some were just sobbing that turned into screams, and others were her drunken mumblings. But the last message, sent half an hour after the others, made my skin crawl. My mother's voice was low and barely audible, as if she were hiding. "He's coming for you. Your father. He came specifically for you." I couldn't take my eyes off the phone. I couldn't even move. I had cut off all contact with her for a year, maybe 2. I lost count. The next morning I got a call from the hospital. They said my mother has been admitted into the psychiatric ward, and I barely held back laughter. Not because it was funny, it wasn't, but because it was inevitable. The nurse who called said, "We need you to come and collect your things. At the house, we found something strange." Very reluctantly, I returned to the same house, still reeking of damp wood and despair, just like before. Her belongings were packed into a clear plastic container. They were old photographs when she was still young and beautiful, smiling sincerely, a smile I never saw in her again. There were other items, but 2 stood out to me. A worn large journal and a massive black feather, thick and strange. She kept both on a small shelf above her bed. Besides that, the walls of her room were covered in bizarre symbols, written in chalk and ash. But most strikingly of all, a figure with wings and outstretched arms, apparently drawn in blood. I never saw any of this as a child. My knees trembled when the nurse told me that all the symbols and the figures had been hidden behind the furniture and posters. I barely managed to sleep and woke up from the cold. The window was open, though I clearly remember closing all the windows. There were claw marks on the windowsill. Everything inside me clenched, my breath caught, and for the first time, I began to consider my mother's words. When I lay on the bed, I couldn't sleep because of the scratching noises in the guest room. They weren't rats. The sound was rhythmic and deliberate, like someone was carving something. I didn't sleep a wink until morning. The sounds and the smell of her clothes in the air transported me back to childhood, when I curled up terrified by a thunderstorm. Back then she told me nothing would happen to me because my father would always be with me. I knew all the answers were in the journal. When I picked it up, it felt like it burned my hands, and yet I started to read. It began innocently enough. Notes about my birth, how she cried the first time she saw me, that my eyes reminded me of his. She never mentioned his name. Then things got stranger. Somewhere between love letters to my father, praises of his divine beauty, and descriptions of strange and horrifying rituals on how to summon angels. He came to me again. Said he would take our son, despite saying before he wouldn't. He said he loves only me, and I should ascend with him. The neighbors saw him, heard him in the attic. No one talks to me anymore. They know who fathered my child. He said he'll come for our son soon, and the time has come. How could he do this? He promised me I would go instead of our son. The last entry read, "I won't let him take our son. I'll do everything to stop him." I slammed the journal shut, fighting back nausea. My hands trembled with fear. I dropped everything and left the house. That night I dreamed of wings. Not like the angel wings from Sunday school books, but huge and broken, with coal-like tips and golden roots. A distorted, wrong voice repeated my name, Michael. I woke up to the sound of feathers sliding across the floor, but there were no feathers, only rising dust, and the smell of freshly cut grass and burning meat. The dreams continued, each time with more detail, not just wings now, but a tall, gaunt figure with outstretched arms. It's always still, its eyes glowed in the dark, and its voice said my name like it belonged to him. Electrical malfunctions began. Objects moved by themselves. Deep claw marks appeared on the walls. The TV turned into static at night, and blood would drip from my nose. I don't know where to go, or what to do. So I went to a priest. The old priest sat on a bench by the altar, bent over a prayer book. The moment I entered, he tensed, sensing I hadn't come to confess. "What brings you here, my son? I need an answer. I need to know what to do. If my father is an angel." The priest flinched like I struck him. He closed the prayer book and stood, his knees cracking. He stared at me like he was trying to see into my soul. "Who told you that?" "My mother. He's been coming to me in my dreams. I feel him watching me through mirrors. Wherever I go, I feel his gaze. I feel like something's changing inside me. I'm so scared, Father." He placed his hands on my shoulders. His hands were cold as gravestones. "The angel you describe is not a messenger of love. He is ancient, more terrifying. Some of them were rejected even by God. And if one of them is your father..." He didn't finish, just stepped back and crossed himself. "You must reject him, renounce him, and never, ever summon or accept him. Do not look into his face if he appears. Such angels want to continue their lineage, and you'll never be human again." In that moment, deep beneath my ribs, the dreams became reality. When I blinked, feathers floated in the air. I turned suddenly and saw his face behind the curtains, wide, frozen eyes staring. And when I got the call that my mother died of a cardiac arrest, a sharp mix of smells hit me. Burnt feathers, meat, cinnamon, sulfur, and cut grass. He had been here. I heard my mother's voice. She sounded like she was laughing and crying at the same time. "Michael, my beloved son, he's so proud of you. Your father finally took me with him. Don't be afraid, son. He'll take you too, and we'll finally live freely as a family. You'll have a more important role. Don't fear. Accept it. I love you. We love you." I vomited on my pants, paralyzed with terror. The smell didn't fade. It grew stronger. My first thought was that my father killed my mother and was trying to kill me too, using hallucinations. I tried to flee the house, but the TV turned on. The screen flickered, and then static appeared. White noise. A chaotic swarm of thoughts. The static became rhythmic, like breathing, sometimes quiet, sometimes loud. And then the image changed. A silhouette emerged from the blur. At first just an outline, then wings appeared, just like in my dreams. Its head was tilted, face obscured by distorted light. It moved. From inside the TV, coming closer with each frame. The screen lines warped, as if he were pushing out, tearing through space. I stepped back, my heart pounding. And then through the crackle of static, a distorted, inhuman voice.
You are ready.
The screen convulsed, and from its center, a hand emerged. Long, clawed fingers shimmered with both blinding light and shadow. The hand reached for me. I couldn't scream or move. I was frozen as he fully emerged, like a nightmare being born. He only vaguely resembled a man. His face was mine, but twisted, terrifying. As the priest warned, he was corrupted by the time and something unearthly, tall and thin, wrapped in wings that shimmered like metal. His voice sounded like wind across a grave.
We are one family again, Michael.
I passed out. I don't know how much time passed. Hours, days maybe. But I woke up on the bathroom floor, in a pool of my own blood. I coughed, spitting blood, and it felt like something pulsing under my skin. My blood was changing. And then I looked up in the mirror. My eyes no longer looked like mine. They were his. A few hours later, I felt excruciating pain in my back, like something trying to tear its way out. All food began to taste like ash. Later, I started hearing whispers of prayers in different languages from mirrors, pipes, and inside my own head. And always, I heard my father's voice. Michael, you were born for ascension. I existed before the great flood. My ancient blood flows in you. You will have many tasks, but you will succeed, because I am with you, always. I no longer need sleep. My back slowly tore open, as black stubs of wings burst through the flesh. He came to me yesterday, showing burning skies and oceans of wings, a throne made of eyes. His voice sounded like a choir of thousands. He said he would teach me to walk between dimensions once the wings were fully grown. According to him, they will break free within 2 days. My skin peels and flakes like ash, and my teeth fall out immediately, replaced by sharper ones. I no longer feel pain. I stopped praying for it to stop. Whenever I prayed, my tongue burned to ash and regrew. I stopped being afraid. The fear vanished on its own. When I felt the air bend around me, I accepted it. I see other angels now, like my father. They welcome me into their ranks. My mother stands among them, crying with joy. Now as I type this, I saw the future, where I shine with light like my father. I now stand in fire, and soon I will continue the bloodline. Amen.